regular meeting of the Port of Centralia for April 15th to order. Let's, if everybody would stand, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty. Thank you. Continue with introductions.
Port Commissioner Kyle Markstrom.
Port Commissioner Alec McCoy. Amy Greer, Port Staff.
Peter Line, Port Commissioner. Thank you. Now we'll move on to good of the order and public comment. I'll read a little statement. Oops, what do they do? Oh, approval of the agenda, sorry.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda as presented? Any motions that we need to add? Any new business? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 3-0. Thank you. Now, good to the order, public comment. This time during the Port Commission meeting is for public comment. Public comment is for non-agenda items only. There will be time during the meeting to comment on agenda items. The Port Commission welcomes your comments and participation. However, public comment is not the time for the Commission to answer questions. If you have questions and would like a follow-up, please leave your contact information with Port staff. If you have a specific records request, please see Port staff so we can get you the information you require. For those attending remotely or who are unable to attend, please submit your written comments to Amy Graber at portofcentralia.com before 2 p.m. on the meeting day. Please stand. Well, we're not going to stand at the podium today. We're a little crowded. But please stand at your place and give your comment. We'll do the best to accommodate your needs. You'll have 3 minutes to complete your comment, and when you reach your time limit, we will ask you to wrap up. Thank you for participating in the Port. We did have one written comment, which I will read quickly here. This is from Deb Farnham. Today on tax day, I felt it was important to take a moment not to ask for anything, but simply to say thank you. Thank you for your continued service to our community. The work you do is not easy, and it often comes with long hours, difficult decisions, and at times more criticism than recognition. Please know that there are many of us in the community who see your efforts, who value your vision, and who appreciate the fortitude it takes to stay the course. Centralia is stronger because of the commitment to thoughtful growth and long-term opportunity. The businesses that have chosen to invest here are making a difference, not just economically, but in the real everyday impact on our schools, our fire service, our library. That matters. I live near UNFI and see firsthand the daily flow of trucks and activity. In my experience, they've been respectful, steady, and a positive part of what keeps our community moving forward. It's a reminder to me that growth, when done thoughtfully, can work well within our community. I also want to acknowledge that while not all voices are always heard in the same way, there are many supportive community members who may not be in the room at every meeting, but who believe in the direction and the work being done. Progress is rarely easy, and it's often accompanied by differing perspectives, but strong leadership is grounded in vision, collaboration, and a commitment to the greater good. And I see that in the work being done. So simply, I want to say thank you for your time, your perseverance, and your belief in Centralia's future. It does not go unnoticed. With appreciation, Deb Farnham. That concludes. Now, I have a list. Chad Campbell, you signed up for public comment. Would you like to?
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chad Campbell, and I'm here on behalf of Operating Engineers Local 612, which represents skilled workers and contractors across Pierce, Thurston, Lewis, and Pacific counties. We are here to support the Port of Centralia's responsible industrial development plans and respectfully oppose the City of Centralia's ordinance number 2575. The moratorium restricts the construction of large-scale warehouses and distribution center buildings of 250,000 square feet or more. A moratorium of this kind does not simply pause construction, it pauses opportunity. It reaches directly into the pockets of working families and deprives the community of the economic growth that supports schools, roads, and essential public services. When major projects are turned away, so too is the tax revenue that helps keep the city strong and resilient. Just as importantly, these restrictions stall the projects that local workers rely on to make a living. Construction workers, tradespeople, material suppliers, and small businesses all feel the economic impact immediately when planned developments are frozen. These are not abstract consequences. These represent lost paychecks, reduced household spending, and increased financial strain on local families. We are seeing positive impacts firsthand with the Forge Prairie Building 1 project currently under construction. This project is estimated to require more than 31,600 man-hours to complete, with approximately 14,000 hours of work still remaining, including critical frontage and infrastructure improvement. More than half of the skilled workers on this project live south of Olympia, meaning that the economic benefits extend well beyond the job site and ripple throughout this region. With growth, when growth is halted, the ripple effect is real. Lost wages lead to reduced spending, which leads to diminished revenue for public services, and ultimately the costs are shouldered by residents. Local 612 believes Centralia deserves thoughtful growth that supports both its economy and its people. We urge the city council, and we plan on urging the city council to reconsider and remove the moratorium on warehouses and distribution centers, and instead pursue policies that encourage responsible development, good paying jobs, and long-term economic stability for this community. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Anthony Johnson.
Thank you. My name is Anthony Johnson. I'm with Labor Local 252, and we represent members that live in this community as well. And we're also against this moratorium. We believe that it's going to hurt jobs and also the local economic growth. We believe that we'd like to see projects going on in this area, and we'd like to see if when these projects do go, that they do have goals and requirements that have apprenticeship utilization, local hire, and that the workers get a livable wage.
Thank you. Great. Dan Benovich. Yeah. Cynthia Mudge.
Cynthia Mudge, Centralia Shades Chamber and everything Shades. First and happy news. This is, as many of you may know, a super busy week for everybody. We've got the legislative update at Movie Ground for tomorrow morning at 7:30. It's a lot of questions for our District 20 folks and maybe an opportunity to comment on what's happened this last legislative session. Our business after hours is at Lucky Eagle Casino tomorrow night from 5 to 7. Riverside Bistro and Rooftop Bar, and I'm probably going to miss part of it. They're having their ribbon cutting today, and I know it's in jails, but I think anytime the company has a little fire or a big fire, when they reopen, it's some kind of rally behind them because they have a lot of ground to catch up on. So we're hoping people get out there tonight and help them celebrate and sell multiple days opening, which we're excited about. And we're assisting with their ribbon cutting tomorrow. 16th is a busy day. And they're on Harrison. So that is all a lot of exciting news business-wise. And hopefully I'll see a bunch of you at things and happy tax day.
Gary Odegaard.
Yes, Gary Odegaard, resident here since 1962. Someday we're born. Anyway, I'm just wondering if you're making some progress towards public being able to comment on electronic systems.
I'm not sure, but we'll work on that.
I've been working on it.
Okay,
Balls in motion.
Thank you.
thank you. Let's see, Paul Crowner.
I'll pass.
Okay. Brian Dow.
Brian Dow, Centralia resident, and I've been attending meetings maybe for the last 4 or 5 years, and I think in this move right now to kind of get the court in a better direction and moving forward, that the idea of last meeting of a new legal representation would be advantageous. That we should start over with legal representation, just like we have with a few other positions. That's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Now we will see, get our public comment. We'll go on to approval of minutes for the April 1st, 2026 regular meeting and the April 8th, 2026 special meeting.
Move to approve the minutes of the April 1st, 2026 regular meeting and the April 8th, 2026 special meeting.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Approval of warrants.
Commissioners have before them warrants 24896 through 24916 totaling $94,871.05.
Move to approve warrants 24896 through 24916 in the total amount of $94,871.05.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, on this, Van Ness Feldman, our legal professional services for the month of December was $44,519.82.
Which includes legal fees for ongoing issues as well as
It's
land
for
deals.
every single
All,
state
yeah, all
transaction.
legal fees for the month of December.
December.
Yep.
But we're just paying it now.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 3-0. Thank you. Old business, executive director, sir.
I would like to make a motion that we pause the search for executive director until our May 20th meeting. I haven't had a discussion with Amy and she's willing to continue on as our interim executive director until that point. At which time I think we should have another discussion about our course forward. But in discussions with Amy, she would like to stay as interim for now while we get through a few things. And so my motion is that we pause the search until May 20th.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to pause the executive director search until May 20th. Is there any discussion?
I just appreciate Amy's willingness to continue in this role for us. We're in the middle of a lot of really critical things and she's handling them very well. And so just appreciate her willingness to step up and look forward to starting the course forward shortly.
Yeah, I would say that, thank you to all of the applicants and those that we interviewed. At this time, we just need a break to be able to kind of assess our structure and how we'd be moving forward. And so this pause is just a way to start fresh. So.
I would like to thank Amy and Aaron also for the great job you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So awesome.
We're
Thank
not
you.
we're not surviving, we're thriving, so to say. Yeah, she's doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So a motion.
Yep, hold on a second. Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. New business. Resolution 2026-06 concerning the adoption of tax anticipation line of credit.
Commissioners, this resolution is the line of credit renewal. It was becoming due in July. This is a line of credit that we have every year. It just helps with cash flow timing differences. Property taxes only come at certain times of the year. The same with during construction times when we're expecting grant reimbursement to pay those obligations as we're waiting the grant reimbursements. And then also it allows us, as we're working through these real estate transactions, to not delay any financial or legal obligations that we have as we're working through these items. And the maturity date is August 31st of 2027. We can reevaluate at that time, possibly decreasing the line of credit, but I would recommend your approval.
I move to approve resolution 2026-06, a resolution concerning the adoption of tax anticipated line of credit note with Columbia Bank.
Second,
Got seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion
yeah,
from the audience?
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
did
I think the public goes.
anyone in the public that would like to comment on the line of credit? Did you have something?
Yeah.
One
Oh,
quick,
Right.
Brian Dow again. Does that replace the line of credit that you have now? Is that's still in place?
Yeah, it's a renewal of that one.
Renewal of that. Thank you.
Yeah, so normally I don't believe that we should be carrying debt. I feel like that's, we're profit arm of the government, we should be able to manage our funds. But I've inherited this problem. We do have debt currently. But Amy has done a really good job of trying to rein in our budget. And she's made a lot of good cuts and updates to it. And I can see as the treasurer and working with her and looking over the bills that there is a path for us to be debt free. But for right now, unfortunately, I have to be in favor of carrying debt forward, given the circumstances of how finances have been handled previously.
I appreciate your thoughts on that. The port has operated with a line of credit on and off, like Amy has explained, for different projects and things for many, many years. While, we do have this debt, this is, other than a couple of very small, remaining property transactions that we are still paying heirs of estates on. We have very, very little debt and we have quite a lot of assets. And so I don't want the public to get the perception that, we're carrying this huge debt load and, don't have the assets to do what the port desires. We do have very extensive land holdings that are extremely valuable and are on our balance sheet, and that this small line of credit is in place to get between the transactions that we do. And I would anticipate that with the pending transactions we have on the books, that this should be wiped out. So look forward to that.
I think they covered it. I don't need to say anything else. So we have a motion on that?
Yep.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. New business item B, resolution 2026-07, authorizing the disposal of surplus property.
So with this resolution, maintenance every year does a thorough inventory of items that we have in our maintenance shop. These are items that we no longer need for district purposes. And we plan on listing the equipment with the Chehalis livestock market, and hopefully, someone in the local community could use this equipment. So I recommend your approval.
You make a motion to approve resolution 2026-07, a resolution of the Commission of the Port of Centralia, Lewis County, Washington, authorizing disposal of surplus property.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this motion? Please state your name.
Andrew Ballard as a resident, but a member of IUOD Local 612 as well. I just wanted to know if these assets have been replaced with new equipment, or if we're just going to be disposing of them and not having anything to replace them with. If we need them in the future, the acquisition costs would be significantly more than just keeping them and maintaining them.
Some of the items were attachments to things that no longer work. And so we don't plan on replacing them. They weren't needed for any additional purpose and they won't be being replaced.
Thanks.
Yes.
Any comments from the commission? All in favor of resolution 2026-07, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, 3-0. Thank you. Item C under new business, 2026 flood mitigation funding. There's been a request for $15,000 for the 2026 flood mitigation funding. There's an ask. So I would like to ask for Oh. Okay. So to entertain a motion,
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 flood mitigation funding request in the amount of 15,000.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the 2026 flood mitigation funding for $15,000. Is there any public comment on this issue? Mr. Dow?
Brian Dow, who's asking for it? The Shane's Basin?
The Economic Alliance is the overarching entity that kind of oversees all of the funding.
Which alliance?
The Economic Alliance
Oh.
of Lewis County.
So they're the ones asking.
But it's a joint effort of many different municipalities. It's not. Mhm.
Emil, did you,
Emil Pearson, City of Centralia. So did you receive damage?
please stand.
Thank you. Did you receive damage or are you just requesting grant funds or are you giving grant funds?
Giving of funds.
Okay.
Yeah, this, I don't know if the city does this, but we've done this for years. We're supporting, the flood authority effort.
I can speak to that
Oh,
if you were.
yeah, please.
This is, funding that is requested every year. The requests go out to Lewis County, the cities of Centralia, Chehalis, the Port of Chehalis, and the Port of Centralia. This helps fund a consultant that is working on flood mitigation efforts for the Chehalis Basin.
Oh, it's Star Engineer.
What's that?
I know who it is. It's Star Engineer.
No, it's not. It's a consultant.
My personal opinion is I would like to cut back on this a little bit due to our current financial status, but I will go with the group on.
I reported, I think, meeting before last, I attended a meeting at the Economic Alliance. The consultant Jay Vanderstoop was there and presented the current status of the water retention facility and the project proposed on the Upper Chehalis Basin, Upper Chehalis River. And he invited all of the stakeholders that contribute to this annually to come and get a date. But this funds the work that he does for this project.
Yeah.
At some point, we
No,
probably should have Jay come and speak to us directly. So, our direct constituents can hear from him, but I'm of the opinion that the work he is doing is extremely vital. I don't think we would be talking about a large scale flood mitigation project if not for the work that he's done along with the Chehalis Basin, the Office of the Chehalis Basin. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's critical we continue to fund that.
Yeah.
I agree, Peter, that, the cost is a lot and I'm looking at a lot of ways that we can cut funding. However, we are an equal partner with the cities and the county and other entities. And at this point, we're mid-project, it feels disingenuous to say we want to work on collaboration and then cut something like this. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Item D, vision for industrial development in the UGA Logistics Property Company presentation.
Yeah, as a part of the meetings with Lewis County and the city of Centralia regarding the moratorium, each agency has been tasked with providing their vision for the industrial park areas such as economic development, transportation and traffic, and community. And before we work through that vision today, Mike Avila, Pacific Rim Real Estate, is going to give speak on the market in the area, and Dennis Rice with Logistics Property Company, who the port is under contract with for the development of some of this industrial property, is here to speak as well.
Right, go ahead,
Mike.
Okay, I'll kind of introduce Dennis. He's going to run the
Sure.
PowerPoint.
Let me-
But I was just gonna, I'm Mike Avila. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of Washington. Grew up in Washington State, been my whole life here except for military service. And when I left the military and came back, I got into the real estate business. I'm fortunate to have great mentors and I'm fortunate to get into the land side and the industrial side. So I guess to say why we're here today, I grew into the industrial business and it was a industrial area called Frederickson Industrial in Pierce County. Similar to Centralia, it had manufacturing and some logistics, and it's an arm of the Port of Tacoma.
So I was advertising property and Dennis Rice looked at some marketing material and flew up here like he flew up today and met out in Frederickson, and that's the first time we met. And Dennis at the time is similar to the Port of Centralia, where open field, farmland, mud, pouring down rain, probably about this time in 2018. And Dennis had the vision to see what could go there and then followed through with it. And I don't know how many people have seen that project, but it's a spectacular project. I think it's created well over 1,200 jobs. It houses Ace Hardware, Amazon, Boeing, IKEA, and it's a big part of Pierce County. So
Do you happen to know the assessed value of that project?
I
roughly?
have it on the.
Okay.
yeah, okay, I don't off the top of my head, but I want to say it's a privilege to have met Dennis, and through my career, I've had multiple clients and multiple people have mentored me. And some of them are planners, some of them are port commissioners from Tacoma, and some of them are clients like Dennis that's taught me about industrial and logistics. So I just want to say they're great to work with. One thing that stands out with a company like LPC is they're an institutional investor. So they keep their product. It's a hold for at least 10 years plus. Dennis might go over that. But what you'll find is their buildings are a little bit higher quality. They attract A+ users, national and international users, compared to a merchant developer that might just build a building to turn and sell it. So LPC becomes part of the community, and you'll see that. They saw it in Pierce County. They've seen it throughout the nation on anything they've developed. And I think Port of Centralia and the city of Centralia will see that, and probably already seeing that with the jobs they produce and the quality of building that they provide. So that's all I have. Hand it over to Dennis.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dennis Rice, and I'm with Logistics Property Company. I've been with the company for almost 30 years. And we came up into the state of Washington back in about 2018. And like Mike said, he introduced us to this Frederickson part. But just before we get into the joke, you can go back a second. You'll see on your seat, you have this NAIOP economic impact analysis. This is really specific to Washington. It's dated January, and it's the industrial real estate and the economic impacts of it in the state of Washington. So it's pretty specific to it. It's fresh, and feel free to take this home. And I would really encourage you, if you're interested, to really go through it, because there's a lot of great information, and I'm just scratching the surface of it here with this presentation. Excuse me. One thing I want to say, and I've got business cards there. If anybody would like to call me or to email me or text me, feel free to do it if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to try to answer, what you have, or if there's anything you would like to need. If you would like an electronic copy of this, I can provide it to you. If you want to do something more with it, like put it in the city hall or something like that, I've already talked to an AIOP. They don't have a problem with that. So feel free to, use it responsibly the way you wish. So Joe, if you want to jump on to the next, let me give you a quick overview on our company here. We were founded in 2018. When I say we were founded in 2018, and I mentioned I've been with the company 30 years, we changed our name to Logistics Property Company in 2018 when we brought in our institutional partners as LPs. We're 25% employee-owned company. We manage about $3 billion of equity commitment. And typically we'll put about 50% debt on that. So we have about $6 billion worth of assets around the country. Right now we have 27.9 million square feet of operating buildings in among 72 buildings around the country. Here you can see a map. We're headquartered in Chicago, and then we have 9 satellite offices around the country. Some of our major tenants around the country: Amazon, IKEA, Home Depot, Boeing, SC Johnson, DHL, Monster Energy Drink, Nike, Riders, Smuckers, Pepsi, Skechers, DuPont, Maersk, and Ace Hardware. kind of household names, and these are the type of tenants that typically will take these type of properties. We have experience delivering projects with infrastructure improvements and community coordination, similar to what we're doing here. And I'll get a little bit more into the infrastructure part of it when we start with, we go into Frederickson. And like Mike mentioned, we're long-term ownership of these assets, and because of our LPs, we're very conscious about sustainability. For example, this building here that we have in Centralia will be a LEED Gold certified building. And most of our assets have either LEED Gold or LEED Silver certification.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you explain what that is to the public?
Sure. LEED Gold is leadership in energy efficiency and design. It's all about sustainability, recycling, energy efficiency, things of that nature. For example, this building here will have solar on the roof, a 424 kVA system. We're going to have about 120 electric vehicle charging stalls around the property, energy efficiency with materials and things of that nature. By the way, this is Joe Sandu. I'm sorry, I should have introduced him. He's our project manager. He did everything you're going to see up here in Frederickson. He's doing the project down here. He's local, and he's done a fantastic job, and he knows these buildings inside and out. We're part of RESB, which is a global energy leadership as far as sustainability, Energy Star, and then LEED certifications. This here is an aerial of the Frederickson project we were talking about. When we came up here, there was only two buildings, IKEA and Whirlpool. IKEA owns this building here, and Whirlpool has been a tenant in this market for a number of years. We came into this market with Mike. None of this area was built out. There was no infrastructure, and there's no roads. It was really kind of a forested area. There were wetlands that we had to mitigate and so on and so forth. And so we took on the project. The first building that was built here was Best Buy, and this was built by Panattoni. They had let me step back a second. Sierra Pacific Industries owned most of this land in this area. They were going to put a lumber mill here. Before they started building the lumber mill, one of their competitors, Simpson, nearby had a lumber mill. They went out of business. The governor encouraged SPI to take over that lumber mill, keep the jobs in place, and therefore SPI had this excess real estate. So we came in, we laid it out. Again, Best Buy came in. That was the first building that Panattoni did. We were not involved in that. That was on SPI land. Then this land right here was optioned by Panattoni. They flipped that contract to Ashley, who typically owns all their real estate assets. Ashley built this building here, which is 1.2 million square feet. We came in before this was built, and it was our first project in the Pacific Northwest. So I convinced our board that the only way we're going to win this business in purchasing the land from SPI was we have to buy the whole thing, where Panattoni was kind of optioning pieces of it over a period of time. So we came in, we bought the whole thing, and this was our first building. We broke ground on it, and then COVID hit. Fortunately, this building was pre-leased by IKEA. They were considered an essential business, so we were to continue constructing during COVID. Our second this building's about 478,000 square feet. Then Ace Hardware came in, a little over 500,000 square feet. That was a build to suit. Were also considered an essential business, so we were able to continue building the building during COVID. Then we went spec on this building here. Amazon came in halfway through construction, leased it, and it just kept going from there. We then broke ground on this building here this is the last piece of property the Port of Tacoma owned down in Frederickson. We bought that. The 42 acres, a lot of it, 22 acres is in wetlands area, which is right here. 20 acres for the building, about 350,000 square feet. And then our last two buildings here, we broke ground on both these buildings at the same time, and Boeing came in and pre-leased those buildings. So it was a great project for us. Had to build all this infrastructure in here. So We've got a large regional storm drain pond here, another pond here, another pond here. All the sewer, the water, storm drain, utilities, things of that nature we had to put in. So it was a great project. And one thing I volunteer is if anybody wants to see this project, we can kind of schedule a date or two and take a bus up and show everybody driving through the project, and you can see it, in person. And it's a great project, wide roads and great maneuverability and things of that nature.
If you can ask a question, which road on there is either 176 or Canyon?
176 is up here.
Oh, okay.
Canyon's over here.
Okay.
And this is 200 here. This is 208.
Okay.
So these are public roads in here. So we had to build those to meet Pierce County standards and sidewalks and signals and streetlights and things of that nature. So that's kind of just a quick overview of the Predators project. Again, this is more of an oblique view of it, but with all the buildings labeled. Again, our tenants IKEA, Ace Hardware, Amazon, Boeing, and Holman. Our neighbors are Kia, Whirlpool, Best Buy, and Ashley. We did 6 buildings totaling a little over 3 million square feet. It took about 5 to 6 years of a time frame to do all that work. As of 2026, our assessed value for our 6 buildings alone is about 431 million. I think if you were to include the IKEA building, Whirlpool, Best Buy, and Ashley, it's about 3 million square feet, maybe a little bit less. So you're probably about 800 million plus on assessed value up there. Total property taxes we paid on our 6 buildings in 2026 is about $5.1 million. So pretty substantial. There's a picture of the IKEA building. This, like I mentioned earlier, they have another building right down the street. This is an overflow facility for them, meaning when they get goods in and they can't accommodate them in the main facility, they bring them here. So there's a lot of movement going back and forth, but facilities. They were located in a building in DuPont and a building in Lakewood. And then they consolidated that into this building here, and they only got 1 to 2 turns at DuPont or Lakewood. And here they get 8 turns a day if they have to. So this is right down the street. So very, very efficient for them. This is the build-to-suit with Ace Hardware. They were up in the Kent Valley. All their employees were living down in the Pierce County area and commuting up into that area. They were able to come down here, get a brand new, state-of-the-art building compared to what they were in Kent Valley, and at a lower cost. So, and bring their employees closer to them. And that building was about 523,000 square feet. This is Boeing. That's about 533,000 square feet. And they also occupy another building up the street here. That's about 300,000 square feet. And they store a lot of parts in these buildings that service all the manufacturing buildings around the Pacific Northwest. And they brought all their goods mainly over from China because they had a lot of supply chain disruption and geopolitical issues. So they wanted to bring things closer and not be subject to, delays and things of that nature. Amazon, huge facility. They've got about 1,200 people that work in this facility in 2 shifts. They signed a long-term lease, and it's a lot of goods in there. So, show next one. And then there's Bowen's other building. That's the 312,000 square feet. And this building right back here is the Best Buy building. So, Holman Logistics, again, that's the building we did on the last site that we purchased from the Port of Tacoma. One thing we do, and you'll see it in the building here, even to a greater extent, is we really try to give what we call Pacific Northwest feel to the buildings with wood and metal and, really nice designs. But we're doing it to a greater extent in this building as far as the wood and the metal and things of that nature. But as you can see, we take pride in taking good care of these buildings and making sure that the tenants are taking good care of them too, and with that they're well maintained. So So now getting into Forest Prairie here, this is our first building, which is under construction. Joe, if you want to flip to the next, that's the site plan here. It's what they refer to as a cross-dock, meaning you have dock doors on two sides. Plenty of automobile parking, a lot of charging stations for electric vehicles, detention ponds for stormwater, things of that nature. This building will be state-of-the-art, 42-foot clear. Like we said, we got a solar system on this part of the building here. We upsized the structure of the roof, the entire roof, to handle additional load for if somebody wanted to do additional solar on the building, or if they had equipment that they need to hang from the ceiling inside the building. This picture was taken, I think, a couple days ago. You can see the Gallagher Road extension, and it's a first lip. The paving is done. You can see the streetlights were just installed this week. Here's Harrison Avenue. We're going to be starting the 2,200 foot or 2,200 lineal foot 36-inch sewer line up here from Ryerson, bringing it all the way down to about this area here. That's going to start here pretty quickly. It'll take until about November. We're going to shut the street down except for one lane, which we're in the process of building right now, right here. So we'll be controlling traffic on the top end and the bottom end and trying to move traffic as efficiently as possible. We're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I want to get that thing done and get it over with. Along with that, we've got Harrison Avenue frontage improvements along our property line here, where we're widening the road for a center turn lane, sidewalk, streetlights, and then, like I had mentioned, the Gallagher Road extension. Eventually, we'd like to see the Gallagher Road kind of loop around and tie in down to Ives. And our vision is that we would take up all this UNFI truck traffic and try to send it up Gallagher to Harrison, then go north on Harrison to exit 88. And on Harrison exit to exit 88, I don't think there's any traffic signals, so should be able to move pretty efficiently. One thing is we have 147 construction jobs with the GC and all the subs working on this building. 68 of those positions are local labor. And this building will be LEED Gold certified.
I did on that last picture, I mean, you showed there. Did you already lay the sewer line on Gallagher Road?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's everything's in sewer, water.
Yeah.
Yeah, fire hydrants and everything.
Super, thank you.
Sidewalks in. This is kind of a map of the area that, you know, is part of the port master plan. This is the building we're doing right now in green. Loco's house is back behind there and he's real happy. Yellow is what I call our first phase with the Port of Centralia. And these are the yellow sites that the port owns that we're under contract with. We're laying that out and to see what we can do with what we have here. And then purple is also the port, a couple of smaller sites along Gallagher there. And then the site there down at Gallagher and Galvin. And then the Steelhammer family has this large site there in red. And we haven't really had any discussions with the Steelhammers about that. Yeah. So what I want to talk about here is this really talks about the economic impact of industrial real estate. And everything you see here, you're going to see in the book, but these are kind of the things I wanted to really highlight. And I think there's 3 or 4 slides, so I'll try to go through them quickly. The physical infrastructure that allows Washington, industrial real estate is physical infrastructure that allows Washington's economy to function. 40% of jobs, industrial real estate jobs, are directly or indirectly linked through trade, through manufacturing, aerospace, logistics, and port-related activity. So if you think about it, 40% of the jobs in the Washington state are somehow or another related to industrial manufacturing, aerospace, things of that nature. Northwest Seaport Alliance, which is the 2 ports of Seattle and Tacoma, is the 4th largest gateway into the U.S. for containerized cargo from Asia. So that's a huge driver for this area. We see it down in Southern California with the Port of LA and the Port of Long Beach. If you really think about it, industrial real estate is a physical network that enables production, storage, and delivery of goods. It's one of the most, industrial real estate's one of the state's most efficient tax bases. Like you saw there, $431 million in assessed value and over $5 million in taxes. It's got a high fiscal yield per acre compared to residential and commercial, so it's pretty efficient that way. And this is interesting, for every 100,000 square feet of industrial space, it generates over $6.7 million of public revenue over a 10-year period. So that includes construction all the way through 10 years of operation of the building. So it's a lot of money when you think about it.
Can I make just one comment?
Sure.
You mentioned the assessed value and the property taxes paid on the buildings. I think it's also important for people to know that there's personal property tax paid by all the tenants of those buildings for the improvements and the equipment and the things within those buildings that significantly increases that number. I know when I've done research on the tenants in the Port of Centralia, it's added another 20 to 30% on the amount of taxes that are paid by the tenants in our port. So
Sure.
I know that's another big.
Yeah, I think like in that Amazon building, they got a ton of equipment in that building. They have a hydrogen fueling station on site for their trucks, so they're clean trucks. So, you know, a lot.
All of those things are assessed the same as your houses and my houses and these industrial properties are, just
Correct.
so everybody in the room understands that the property tax that goes to the schools and the libraries and the fire districts and things are paid on all of that equipment as well.
Like I mentioned at the beginning, like all this is in this book, but to a much greater extent, and it gives a lot more detail and explains it a lot better than I'm doing. So it's be a good read. Joe, next page. So a couple of bullet points here that I kind of garnered from this that I thought were important. Industrial sector, Washington's industrial sector, together with the real estate that houses it, functions as one of the state's most powerful economic engines. Few sectors generate comparable levels of employment, income, and economic output, or produce such broad ripple effects across the wider economy. The industrial sector employs more than 510,000 workers in Washington, paying out $62 billion in wages and producing about $273 billion in goods and services. One, supplier purchases, which are indirect effects, and household spending, which are induced effects, are included. The sector supports over 1.2 million additional jobs statewide. So that ends up roughly 1 in 3 workers in Washington are tied directly or indirectly to industrial activity. And again, for every $1 of industrial output, the Washington economy generates approximately 67 cents elsewhere due to the industrial output. Employment, labor income, GDP, and business income occur because firms have access to buildings that allow them to operate, such as warehouses, production floors, logistics hubs, cold storage facilities, warehouse or repair shops, and specialized manufacturing space. Without these, the jobs, the wages, and the output would not exist. You'll see these in the book here. 5 reasons industrial real estate is essential to Washington's economy. It's the land infrastructure of Washington's supply chain that drives a large share of the state's economy. It creates accessible family wage jobs. It's one of the state's most efficient tax bases, and it advances sustainability and community well-being. 3 reasons the Washington industrial system needs to keep delivering these benefits is industrial land should be treated as a critical economic infrastructure. Entitlement and permit processes that allow planned industrial land to be built, and alignment of industrial land freight and transportation infrastructure is very important. And again, this is all in here with a lot more detail and explanation, but I just wanted to point it out. Washington as an entire state has approximately almost 15,000 buildings, totaling about 550 million square feet of space, and that's throughout the whole state. So it's a huge number. And there are places like LA's got 2 billion square feet in the greater LA area of industrial square footage. So that's it. Again, I encourage you to take a look at this. We feel this is a great opportunity for the city of Centralia. I know some other people feel otherwise, and I'd be happy to hear your thoughts more on that and also give you my thoughts on it. But we think it's a great opportunity for Centralia to continue to grow. And usually the industrial real estate is kind of the first rung of the ladder. And then what comes after that is commercial and retail and things of that nature, and then more housing, and then it gets bigger, and it just it continues to thrive more because you've got a bigger tax base and you got people spending money.
Would you be open for questions?
Sure, absolutely.
Can I add one
Oh,
thing?
sure.
So I just want to say that when I said they're institutional developers, they're speccing development. So the money that's going into this first building, which is 605,000 square feet, I just had a requirement today from Pierce County EDB, but it's statewide. It's a confidential requirement, but at first it's for 750 and it's a manufacturer. So these buildings, even though they're spec, they can be manufacturing, they can be for logistics. And what helps is when you have the building, because this is a multi-state requirement. So these companies that come from outside of our country to produce here, they can't wait 3 years for permits and a building to be built. So it's a blessing to have an institutional company with the horsepower LPC has that can build a speculative building, have it in place, and then work with the Port of Centralia, EDC, City of Centralia to get those type of tenants to the table.
It's important to have the land available to do that. A lot of them will come in and have specialized requirements of, like this one here, advanced manufacturing. So it would be more of a build to suit. So you have to have that land available. Otherwise they can't wait for land to be entitled or things of that nature. So.
Senator Odegaard, you have a question?
Yes. I have a concern about traffic and the past meetings in the area. There's discussion about a roundabout where I can't remember the name of the road.
It's Gallagher and
Gallagher,
Harrison.
yeah. Where it comes into Harrison. Is there, and you didn't mention anything there about a roundabout.
Joe, you want to talk about that? Please. A little bit more about it.
It's more the roundabout project is part of the Lewis County and the city of Centralia's the road winding project. So that would be in the future when the funding is available from the state of Washington. Right now, we built that Gallagher Road extension. So in working with Lewis County design wise, they would be able to come in and install the roundabout at that location. There's a lot of right of way that needs to be done, and then the road widening project has to happen in order for the roundabout to move.
Like Joe was saying, that's kind of a city Lewis County thing, and what we did, and we spent millions of dollars down in Frederickson with infrastructure improvements. But when you can spread that cost over a larger project, that makes it more viable that we could take that on versus Lewis County and the city of Centralia.
I'm raised in a union family, and my dad was an officer, and been a member since I was 16. But we who live off of Harrison do have a great concern about traffic. It's already bad with the big trucks, the enterprise, and other properties. So whatever you people can do to help that, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I think, and we've talked a little bit with the city about this, is with UNFI, you go work with them and you tell them this is your truck route, and this is the way your truck's got to, come into the city and leave the facility to get to the freeway. So you establish those truck routes. Sometimes they can be, a truck route that's not permanent, but 24/7. Or it may be you're only allowed to go on that road from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., something along those lines. So, if you think about Harrison between Reynolds and the freeway, with the elementary school there, and retail along there, the more it gets clogged up, the worse it's gonna be. So what you wanna do is get those trucks out of there. And maybe a tall order with some of the existing trucks that, I see the logging trucks that come up, and I think they're coming from the south heading north, get off at Harrison, and they're going to the mill there. Just go talk to them and, you know, the city has to change it and say, this is not a truck route anymore between these hours, you know, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., whatever. And push those trucks up to exit 88, get off there, come down Harrison and go to their mill that way. So it takes a coordinated effort with the county, the city and going to these people and, you know.
Then how
Dictating
is that
that.
enforced? How would you
Um,
enforce the truck route? Because currently when UNFI, their drivers flunk in the address that they're going to in their GPS system and take off. Like,
Yeah.
how do you enforce a truck route? And you
Police,
make
police.
policies of it.
Well, first of all, what we typically do is we'll put it in a lease, so that tenant is then responsible that every truck driver that goes through the garbage jack or whatever, they get a piece of paper and say, these are your truck routes, this is the way you're supposed to leave this facility and come back to this facility. That's one of them, and then if they violate it, you gotta cite them.
And then how? You're expecting our police departments to
Yeah.
pull over
Yeah.
trucks?
Yeah, usually what happens if a sheriff pulls over a few of them, well, there's two things that happen on your Google Maps. It'll pop up on there for those guys, the hours, but also if a sheriff enforces that, it spreads very fast because they don't want to pay the fines.
It's a standard practice in Southern California. A lot of the big cities have the same problems, where communities don't want the trucks in the neighborhoods, they got schools, they just, so they do enforce truck routes. Initially, it takes some work, but once you put it in the lease, and then like Dan said, that if I'm a driver, I'm gonna get citation $500-600, one time, twice maybe, then after that, you're not gonna pay that. And we have buildings in Southern California that we do, and it works out.
You put a lot of signage up and, yeah, so they get used to it after.
And what happens is the factories start using the truck routes during the evening time, not peak hour.
It's funny, you go to Frederickson during the day and you see very few trucks movements in that area. It's because they don't want to be operating in traffic. They don't want their drivers idling. They gotta get goods moving and typically they're nighttime trips.
The biggest traffic on Canyon Road, which comes off I-12, which goes into I-5. The biggest traffic is school buses because they got a district yard there on Canyon. So that's the biggest traffic there. Trucks, you won't see that many during the day, but off peak hours in the evening and stuff, you'll see trucks. So that's how Amazon, any day you go into this park right there, you won't see maybe 1 or 2 trucks going in and out. But for the amount of jobs there, the amount of people and the freight that's getting moved is always off hours. That's how they want to get in and out. They don't want to wait. Yeah.
We were told here at the Unify, we see a whole bunch of them in the daytime.
Well, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Abel, that Harrison is a designated truck route or not.
It is.
It's-
And they actually, UNFI actually had, if I recall the seat at the time, any truck that was supposed to be going south could use Harrison. Any truck that was supposed to be north was supposed to use Harrison, go up to Grand Mound and go that way.
Yeah.
Because if I recall correctly, the port or whoever, I think it was Opus Northwest, had to pay money to Thurston County for the new interchange.
That's
up
correct.
There, so.
I'm not talking about the routes, I'm talking about the hours.
Yeah, Chad, hold on just a second. Mr. Pearson, is there anything that you would like to add about the roundabout or?
No,
any thoughts?
I think LPC has been wonderful to work from with the building department. We think you guys have been doing a great job. I think we had some rough times, but I think right now, I think things are going very, very smoothly and we look forward to the next building, so.
Chad.
Chad Campbell, operating engineers, commenting on the concerns. I lived in Classic View Estates, less than a half a mile away from your Frederickson development that you're talking about. before construction started, during construction, and after the construction of a lot of that. And that was our concerns, a lot of the residents up there, about the impact of the construction and the trucking. And I'll say from my perspective, it was minimal. There was a lot of concern about it, but really the impact from the trucking, from the construction and whatnot was very minimal. And the trucks are using Canyon Road and the correct trucking routes, not on the rural streets and whatnot. There was a big concern about 208 and whatnot, so.
208 was blocked and for trucks for a long time. And then when Ashley came in, they had to put that signal in where we got up the link for. And truck drivers were going on 208, even with the sign on it. But once the sheriff started ticketing them, they stopped. So stop. And the residents started putting signs up, hey, you can't go on the street. Now the trucks are allowed because I think to 7, they opened that up and they made that.
In Canyon Road, so there was some planning involved.
Planning involved.
There were some other roads that were expanded and widened to allow better routes, so.
Right.
Good communication and good planning.
Stanovich.
Yeah, I have a concern, that you'll build these buildings. The public and even the city, from what I understand, won't know what's gonna go in there until it's in. It could be Amazon, it could be other distribution centers, which are going to robotics. And how's that gonna, affect our jobs that they're supposed to provide here if they end up going to robotics and eliminating jobs?
Yeah, you hear a lot about robotics. I don't think we've seen maybe those little Amazon ones that you hear about that move around warehouses and pick and pack and things of that nature, but you always have human beings in that building to kind of assist if there's problems and things of that nature. And those are typically more engineers and higher paying jobs. But other than Amazon, I haven't seen a lot of the other companies go to robots, where when I think of a robot, there's robots in the building and nobody else, and they're just in there and there's no cars and things of that nature. And eventually you'll probably find autonomous trucks and they'll be driving, driverless trucks. And that's probably not too far out there. Like you're seeing all these cars nowadays, but the Waymos and things of that nature. Getting back to your question, Jan, about tenants, we have that building there. We're talking to a couple tenants, but we haven't signed anybody. Typically, a lot of tenants don't have plans 2 years in advance that come and say, we want you to build us a building and we'll lease it from you. That's called a build to suit. A lot of tenants, it's 6 months and they say, we need a building, we need it by this date. And, that's why we do the buildings. We're speculating that there's going to be a user there. We don't know who it could be. Typically, it's going to, for a building that size and that quality and, the rent that's going to be paid on a building like that, 600,000 square feet, the rent's going to be about $600,000 a month. It's not going to be a mom and pop. It's going to be a single user. It's going to be a global Fortune 500 company like you saw on our list that will occupy the building, and that they'll pay good wages and they'll operate. They'll be very sensitive to the community, and they don't want to go into a community that they feel is against them. So they become community members and they have good jobs.
I understand UNFI is already going to robotics and planning even more, so we wouldn't have any guarantee that those jobs that you're projecting would be there.
There's probably no guarantee, but I don't know. I think there was I read in the paper a while back that they had a tour of UNFI, and there was a lot of bodies working in that building. They did have automation. That's difficult too. And, if you really think about it, if you have automation that drives costs down, it might eliminate jobs, but there's pressure on those users from the public to keep your costs down, bring your costs down. We want a cheaper shirt or, cheaper food or, things are too expensive. So they look for ways to drive the cost down, just like the port would look for ways to drive their expenses down.
I want to speak to the automation piece just a little bit briefly. I worked 15 years in manufacturing in a facility that had a bit of automation. Have worked around it a lot in my career. But what I found automation to do is generally it fills a void within a company. It's a sector of jobs that's difficult to hire for, or it's a type of work that is redundant and hard to find people that want to do that job, and it's easily automated. Automation we've had automation for many years now. It's not new. It's continuing to expand with AI. I think as a community, it's important to not get left behind because of fear of a new technology. This new technology is going to be used in every community that has development, and sort of stave off development because of fear of that technology, I think, is short-sighted. The other big benefit to automation that isn't talked about a lot is that equipment is extremely expensive, and the tenant pays property tax on that equipment. So while you have your lowest end of jobs that aren't done by humans, you have automation, you have a significant amount of property tax that's then paid on that equipment. So there's definitely, pluses and minuses and different ways to look at it. But, I don't think, in my opinion, automation should ever be looked at as, something we should stave off. It's here, it's in every industry, and it's going to be an important part of the economy, I think, for the foreseeable
I
future.
think what interests me on the tour of UNFI, and which you're part on as well, is you do still have employees that need to work on that AI.
Well, those are your higher paying jobs. Those
Yeah,
are your engineers
there's
and
the
your
robotics.
technicians and mechanics that have to
Yeah.
work on that equipment.
Yeah, so the computerized, there are people working on all different aspects of those
So you
robotics.
go, for UNFI, they can process 5 trucks an hour, 2 inbound and 3 outbound trucks an hour. There are 3 staff members that manage that. Almost 75% of their workforce is on the fridge and freezer side of the building, because putting robots in the fridge and freezer is hard to do and expensive. Right? So their dry goods side is empty. If you look through, it's because they've condensed it down, right? And so this is where I get at with robotics, is that I'm not worried about advancement. There are genuinely people in this community that I have met who lost their jobs from robots. We can't deny that. But ultimately, it's like with this moratorium, which is why everybody is here, right? We don't want large distribution centers. We don't want, which is kind of where it's at, okay? We're talking about distribution centers, right? Do you have a diverse portfolio, or are all the buildings that you do simply distribution centers? Because really that's what people are afraid of, is distribution centers.
Well, again, these buildings can be outfitted for automation and for manufacturing and things of that nature. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a distribution building in Moreno Valley, California, where the Fisker cars are actually assembled in that building. So these buildings are really very flexible with the space and things of that nature. But you really got to look at the area, and are we going to get advanced manufacturers down here? We're not seeing a lot of advanced manufacturing. We're seeing advanced manufacturing leaving the state and going to Texas.
It's our job as elected officials to work with the city, state, local government, economic alliances to try to incentivize those types of businesses we want to come here. LPC is willing to construct the buildings that can suit any tenant we could ever dream of. It's our job as electeds to work to make this a place that those businesses want to come.
But everybody hold on for a second. This Mudge has been waving on for a little bit.
I will, the first thing I'll say is I was part of that tour of UNFI. And one thing they talked about is jobs really weren't lost. But the crew that's working with the robotics had to be trained, and maybe some of them didn't want to be, but most of those people are still there, but they've had to be trained differently. Well, I was on that tour, talked with them specifically, and yes, those people have to be retrained, because even though it's robotic, they still need people to operate robotics.
The robotics is a third part. It's a subcontractor. None of them are UNFI employees. 0 of the robotics team is UNFI employees.
They're still employees employed within our community though.
Yeah.
And they're still working.
For,
Yeah, who writes their paycheck is irrelevant. I mean, it's great to have those jobs here in this community.
I'm just saying what I heard.
real people lost jobs. Okay,
At
and
UNFI?
that's the concern. That's the
At
concern.
UNFI,
Yes.
people were laid off from UNFI because of automation.
I'm sorry.
I can tell you.
I mean, you're-
That this is a derail. Let's just, okay, we're a runaway train. Let's refocus here. Please have a seat.
Well, no, I had a real comment. I was just commenting because I went on that tour. But I actually just wanted to mention that while the port has been bringing and supporting development here, has been great. And I love the thoughtfulness, purposefulness of the LC your project here, especially environmentally. That's absolutely important and we appreciate that you do that. And I just actually mostly came to say I do appreciate the port's work in bringing development and businesses to this community and to your comments, Mark. You're right, it's up to the community to attract the right kind of businesses we want, but we still need the infrastructure. So thank you guys for being thoughtful.
Mr. Crowner's name.
Yeah. I have nothing negative about industrial development per se. But when we talk about tenants, it's an interesting coincidence. Today in the state of Maryland, in Washington County, there's a legal hearing that would disallow the conversion of a large warehouse, like we're talking about, that would house 1,500 beds for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, otherwise known as ICE. The locals there are calling that conversion of that warehouse, they're calling it a concentration camp. What could prevent our area here from allowing ICE to come in as a tenant? Maybe it's not the United States government isn't a Fortune 500, but they certainly have the money to do that.
Zoning.
Speak to that within the port's master plan, no residential, and I would say beds, people would be sleeping there, and so there'd be an argument against it, given that we don't allow residential within the port master plan.
But the master plan could be changed by any time by the commissioners.
And your commissioners can be changed at any election.
But I think too, you gotta look at the building owner. They are, like we were saying, we're institutional. We have capital that writes the checks to build these buildings that I don't think would allow that. So.
DHS,
What about these?
they could write the check.
No, I'm talking, maybe, so I'm saying we wouldn't be doing that.
right.
As far as putting in something like that. We've never been approached and we know other people are doing it. The latest I've heard is they've stopped all of that. I don't know if they're gonna restart it. But I don't think you're gonna find us putting up 2,000 bed.
I think the other thing is, Emil, correct me if I'm wrong, the occupancy would be an issue with the city. Because it's
Absolutely, yeah.
it would not be allowed unless it's
And in the draft zoning that we
Right,
have,
yeah.
actually would outlaw it completely.
completely,
So
yeah,
who
so,
would you guys completely?
yes, yeah, it would not even happen, even if we wanted, it would not be happening because of these.
I think between us, the port and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sorry, one minute,
Okay.
our buildings are not built for that purpose, anyways, they're not conditioned building, they're not set up for that kind of stuff.
Plumbing couldn't handle it.
Exactly.
And electrical couldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, Andrew Ballard, IOE local 612 and a resident. What's the slab thickness on a spec building?
This building is 42 feet high, clear height, so nine inches.
On the slab?
9 inches on the slab,
What's it rated for?
5,000.
Okay, 5,000.
The other thing on this building, even if you wanted to put robotics in there,
All right,
so let's just get that one out as well. Amazon, they got their robotics, they got the forklifts and other robotics on the floor.
sure.
That flatness on the floor, it has to be specifically built for that.
Not really.
Well, we have a building.
Well,
that-
maybe for their.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
them, if they have their robotics, they need that floor flatness to be really, at certain, specs on it. Our
Only
buildings,
only on their sortation and distribution facilities where they're using the robots that go underneath the stacked.
right, and that's what they're using it, and our building, we have one tenant in Frederickson.
Sure.
The most robotics they have put in there are the forklifts that are automated
Sure.
for picking.
Yeah.
I won't name the tenant's name, but they had 120 employees to start with when we built that building, when they didn't have those forklifts. They still have those 120 employees,
No, that's not my question though.
right? Because the fork, even though they automated that, they still need the people to unload, they still need people to do check-ins and other stuff.
But that's not my question.
Right.
Yeah. So my question would be the majority of your buildings, which look really nice, and I appreciate the additional attention to detail for the architectural cues, because that stands out, makes a difference. And shows, intentionality and not just wanting to slap something up and get to the next one. But, they do seem 90% orientated towards, just logistical distribution of like probably dry goods, which nothing wrong with that. But, what examples do you have of light industrial or light manufacturing or other tenants throughout your region or you've built buildings that you see thriving? Because what we're gonna see here, and we've been seeing, is cities like Seattle and Portland being less and less business friendly, and a migration and exodus out of our state or towards Lewis County and other counties that are more friendly towards business. So like, just to give us a good idea of maybe conversations that we're having with decision makers and stakeholders, like to maybe attract them to Lewis County, to Centralia. What are business models that you see thriving in your buildings outside of just distribution?
It's typically smaller buildings, but it's smaller tenants. So it can be an engineering type shop, where they occupy 100,000 square feet. We don't have anything like Boeing making planes in our buildings. We don't have any automobiles being made in our buildings. I could go through our tenant list and get you that information. I'm happy to do that from our asset management team. And yeah, if you can just send me your contact, I'll send that around everybody.
Okay.
But
I
yeah,
think,
when you look at this area, you've got Kent Valley.
Sure.
Perfect example. There's a lot more advanced manufacturing going on up there with aerospace and satellites and rockets and things of that nature. But they've got the labor force up there that are trained for those type of jobs, the engineers and folks like that. So down here, it's just if you look in Winlock, you look in Chehalis, you look up in Lacey or DuPont, that's probably the mix you're going to have is up in Lacey. You've got Uline, you've got a big Target facility, you got a big Home Depot facility, you've got Medline, you've got Trader Joe's. I'm just rattling these off the top of my head. DuPont's got Amazon in a couple of buildings. There's a food user there, Regalo and DuPont. You got Lowe's down in Winlock. You got what's that grocery store, grocery bargain outlet down in Vancouver. And then you got more manufacturing, heavy kind of manufacturing in the Chehalis market. Amazon's going to be building a 5-story there. So.
But if you look up the road in Frederickson on the other project too, you have Carlson Paving, you have SeaTac Packaging to manufacture bags, and a very similar building, probably about 40,000 square feet. Laser Fab, it's got a 10,000 square foot building, does fabrication. So there's a lot of blue collar opportunities for industrial fabrication and manufacturing in Lewis County with a lot of skilled workforce too. But I would encourage you to think too, maybe there's a sweet spot in looking at maybe some smaller buildings too, or at least your 604,000 square foot. You're looking for 1 or 2 tenants for that. Was that
One tenant.
Yeah, one. So maybe there's an opportunity to look at smaller smaller buildings too.
But you know, you've got like, Pepsi, is looking for a bottling plant, Coca-Cola's a bottling plant, you know, we reached out to them.
Cause they're in Lacey right now, L&E bottling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's, you know, we're reaching out to those type of folks because the more jobs, the better. So.
Thank you.
So, and Niagara bottling, so what you're finding in Washington State is like Boeing. Boeing's downsizing has been leaving the state for decades, right? And there's a reason for that, the tax structure and the wages. So everyone wants a certain wage. And then you have to go to robotics for your manufacturing. Manufacturing actually has more robotics than distribution at this point. But Frederickson's a perfect example because you have Niagara bottling, you have Torre Composite that was for Boeing, right?
James Hardy.
Medallion Foods.
Yeah, James Hardy, but there are some of them that manufacturers that'll get pushed down here.
Yeah.
They land in Transalta. You're blessed with the I-5 corridor coming through here logistically. As Dennis said, you know, fourth largest container port in the nation with Northwest Seaport, right? But you also have more land than just this little section of land over time, but it is proper planning. And the first thing that, like Ace Hardware that came into Frederickson, the first thing they'll ask when they come into communities, do they want us here? Is there workforce housing? Is there a skilled labor pool? And where are my services? So the port's I think you've done a great job at Centralia Station and just local services. It meets that need when we talk to the people that are looking in this area. You have good transportation with I-5, we just need to get to it, right? And so now you work on the skilled labor pool. And that's a big deal. If you want skilled wage jobs, you need skilled labor. And that's a component that takes time. And so if Pierce County went through this in Frederickson, you know, we want so many jobs per acre and we want manufacturing, we want this. Well, they found out the land was sitting there and they had 0 jobs. So take Frederickson where LPC developed and others have developed, right? And there was no demand. So there's no money flow. There was no infrastructure being built. It was dead with 0 jobs per acre. And now just on Dennis's, I don't know how many jobs per acre it would be, but there's probably, well, if there's 1,200 in Amazon, there's at least 1,500 to 2,000 jobs just in that one aerial slide he showed.
Sure.
So I'm sure 2,000 jobs in this area would be fairly beneficial.
For jobs for people that are typically gonna be commuting from maybe Graham, Frederickson, Puyallup, Spanaway, all the way up to Kent Valley, Renton.
This is real, to me, this is real similar because your job base can go out almost to Yelm for a 20-minute commute. So you look at commute time.
Yeah.
We got one in the back here. Please stand, say your name.
Richard Meyer, Labor Local 252. Do you guys have apprenticeship utilization language in your contract when you go to build the buildings initially? And then do you also have, you know, kind of a 2-part, do you have also like a local hire language, you know, people that live within, you know, like a quarter square mile around these buildings that work on those buildings?
So we use full construction, both the union contractor. Most of the other one we use is Miles Resources for majority of the work, or offsite and on-site work. They're also union workers. We always, you know, always encouraging them and telling them if there's any apprenticeship opportunities, bring anybody in. Let's try to do that. And then most of the labor force, we try to say, get local labor if you can. And like we shared with this, 68 jobs up here, local, Thurston, Lewis County. And also any of the facilities like the porta potty they need to use, that was a local company. Try to tell them, hey, use whoever's local, use them here. Don't try to get somebody from Kent or the Valley or something, unless they can't find anybody. If they don't have, for example, a roofing contractor, big roofing, commercial roofing contractors that do this kind of jobs. They pull one out of Longview, right? Instead of bringing somebody from Snohomish County, let's try to bring somebody from here. So those are the kind of things we can. Yeah, we don't go into an extent of putting language into the contracts where we hold them to it. but we do use local, our electricians are local, unionized, Kirby Electrical. So most of our big guys are union contractors.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mike, Joe, and Dennis, I just wanted to thank you. This kind of derailed a little bit, and you answered a lot of everyone's questions. I have one final question, and I think we really should wrap it up and let you guys off the hook, because you've really been through the ringer for a moment here. So how do you vet your tenants? Here at the port, we have our port master plan, and I know that behind it is going to bridge over into what you do. But it seems that that seems to be one of the root issues that a lot of people's concern is, low wage or robotics, all of those kind of things come down to who your tenants are. Can you speak to how you vet your tenants? And then we'll let you.
Sure. So, I mean, typically, and I could probably produce a list of every tenant we have in the country. And they're, I would say probably 80% are going to be pretty neighborhood. Again, because of the size of the building, because of, the cost of the rent, things of that nature. When we get a tenant that comes in, number one, we want to make sure that they can pay the bills. We want to make sure they're going to be a good tenant for the building. We want to make sure they're going to be a good tenant for the community because we do multi-phase projects, and the last thing we want is a tenant that's just a nightmare for the community, and it's going to have an impact on us. So, we talk with them. Typically, they're good corporate tenants, good corporate citizens. A lot of ESG runs through their companies like it does through ours, things of that nature, DEI, and so we need to know what they're going to be doing there because the city's going to want to know that, the fire department's going to want to know that, how many people are going to be there, what are the hours of operation, all those things that we talk about.
Great.
Let's close this discussion out. Sorry, we need to move on a little bit.
I just want to thank you guys for coming in for your time.
Yeah. No, Dennis, Joe, Mike, thank you for coming. If anyone has any other questions, if you please submit them to the office here and we'll get them to LPC or.
LPC has our cards on the paperwork.
Yeah, you can submit directly.
So back to this subject matter, regarding the homework that was sent for the city, the port, and the county was creating the vision for industrial properties within the UGA. I provided you the copy that was provided to us at the meeting. I put a header at the top that says provided at mediation for edits. And I provided the Port Commission with changes that I made to the port's vision regarding economic development, transportation, and traffic community. I really wanted to change our vision to focus more on the vision established in the port's master plan. I'm here to listen to any changes that you three might have in regards to economic development or the transportation and traffic aspect. There's another aspect for community. We did add, I did add Vision 4, which is a new one, which is intergovernmental coordination and predictable regulatory outcomes. I think that that's the whole point of this mediation is working, collaboratively with the county and the cities. I think having that as part of the vision is important for moving forwards for the development of these properties and working together with the city and the county. So I was wondering if any of you have any suggested changes? Aaron did point out I had a spelling error in there, so I'll fix that.
Right. Was this shared in what was on the table out there for the public?
No, it wasn't. I can have copies of them. I can put it on our website if you'd like, but this isn't finalized yet.
Yeah. So, just to start, I really do like that we've added Vision 4, but just at first glance, when I saw this, I was really surprised that this is what was coming out of mediation. I really think that we need to zero back in the scope of what mediation is supposed to be. Like, this is a very broad, document that's including, I don't know. I was just very surprised by the scope. And I'm wondering how long is mediation going to take? This is how far out we are starting. And then it was like we're narrowing into really it's the size of building that's being discussed, right? Like it's a moratorium on distribution centers or, you know, buildings over 250,000 square feet. And I don't see that here at all in these documents.
We haven't discussed it much. Go ahead.
I think from my city manager's comments to me, I think that's going to be something that I think is going to be a new focus. Because I think the city feels the same way your commissioners do, is let's get down to business.
Yeah.
Instead of dancing around.
Yeah.
And
So,
I get the idea of like starting wide and finding common ground, but all of us are busy individuals and we've got business deals on the table that would like to progress. So to me, I say we complete this assignment. I'm not trying to say let's not do our homework, like we should be good partners and do this. But I also would really like to send along with this the more guidance as far as this, we need to fast track this, I think. We're in the weeds with this, I feel.
I think you're right, and when I looked at this is internal for us. It's not for this. The deal with the mediation, it's moratorium or no moratorium. That's it. I mean, the rest of this is us. Are we updating our master plan? Are we figuring out, you know, what we want to do? So that, you know.
Yeah. I am on the same sheet of music as you, Commissioner Picard. I was sort of taken aback when this was sent over. I guess I'm curious if the plan is in future meetings for the three entities to go over the vision for the city and the vision for the county. Because it sort of feels like the county and the city want help drafting our vision, which I think we should all collaborate together and we should all have a mission that we can get behind. But this, to me, very much felt like a tactic to design a vision for the Port of Centralia by the city and the county that doesn't include the project we're currently working on. And so it felt a little disingenuous to me. So I agree. I think moving forward, it would be good just to get down to brass tacks and deal with the issues at hand.
Yeah, and I guess that's where it's like, this document doesn't have any teeth. I'm not gonna speak to motives or anything like that, but it's just, yeah, this is all just the feel good fluff about what we're doing, and really it's a matter of size. Personally, I am not really for or against the moratorium. It's the city's decision, right? If they would like to have this moratorium, it's their prerogative to do so. I don't think that we can calculate truck size to square footage or truck traffic to square footage. I don't see that in the future. I mean, you can see UNFI, as I spoke of earlier, their robotics, they have 3 acres that can process 5 trucks an hour, right? We are past a point where we can have a direct correlation between, you know, a 1 million square foot warehouse is going to have, you know, 800 trucks or something like that. Those are oversimplifications that don't meet our modern standards. And I feel like that's what we should be focusing on in mediation. Defining what is constituting too much traffic, because that's the reason that the city gave, right, is too much traffic. I agree, traffic is something we need to pause and consider. But those are the issues, and that's the thing. Not, you know, one of the things that Amy has cut out of this is, you know, living wage and establishing a living wage, and all of those sort of things. And those numbers change annually. And so I was pleased to have those taken out, because this is like 2026 numbers of what is a livable wage. And again, that's not the focus. That's not within the scope of the city or the port's jurisdiction of what we are even allowed to do as electeds. Because again, we can't say that. We can't go to McDonald's and say, you don't pay your employees enough, you're not allowed to have a building here. You know,
I'm trying to do it in Seattle.
Yeah.
Now they all have kids.
I mean, there's limitations, and so some of this feels, I'm nervous that some of this is branching out into areas that are outside the scope of what our elected office is allowed to even do. So yeah, I feel like that's, for me, I feel like we need 2 motions. 1 to like affirm that this is what we want, and then 2 to kind of set, how do we want to narrow the scope of this? For you to go back into mediation with a much narrower scope of what is going to be.
Can't get much narrower than what my scope is. Are we gonna have a moratorium or not? That's my focus. That's.
Right.
I mean, I understand.
Around why we have the moratorium or not, looking at the statistics, the city has a bunch of statistics that they looked at as to why 250,000 square feet is the wrong building size, right? So I'm fine with mediation continuing and having conversation and collaboration around that issue entirely, just that issue of like, how do you measure square footage versus truck traffic, right? Those sort of things, not just what, I don't want to walk in and say moratorium or not, because that's really not mediation at all. So, but finding the statistics and the studies and the conversation around that specifically, because that's what they said was the reason. And I'm sorry I keep pointing at you, email. I know it's not you, but in my mind right now, your city.
No, it's fine.
You like the city. I'm sorry. So.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, with a lot of what you've said. I don't know what specific motion makes the most sense or what action. I mean, I think this discussion hopefully can guide you going forward in mediation. We've selected you
Yeah.
to represent us in mediation, so I don't know that we necessarily need a motion, but, I think you know how both of us feel now. And I very much would like to see this come to a resolve. I know, we have clients that are very interested and, I have a lot of concerns around this dragging on and getting sidetracked on these,
Yeah.
and
I-
just staving off, the good things that are coming, because, the longer when you have an interested party, the longer you keep them on the hook and don't make some traction, the higher the likelihood that things go sideways, so.
If we could, if you guys would be up for it, I would say that we table this. Put it under old business at the next meeting. We talk about it again.
Is
But
it-
a little bit.
Our next meeting is April 24th.
Yeah. I have to have this done for you. This is the homework assignment. I don't want to turn it on.
I mean, we can walk in and say, we appreciate the thought behind this, but, we would like to get back on track. I mean, we're not beholden to this group to check this box, right?
So don't submit the homework is what you're saying?
No, this was a policy. My whole goal going in there was the port, the city and the county are on the same page in development. And we are not on the same page yet, but we are talking, which is something that we haven't done for a long time.
Well, and that's vision 4, that I think the value of the homework is the addition of vision 4, which is that intergovernmental coordination and predictable regulatory outcomes. This is the title of that section for the public. And I think that's valuable to bring back to the group. But I do think we could bring it back and not say that, oh, this is a concrete thing that, yes, we agree.
Yeah.
We, good faith effort, here's what we have for this assignment, but we're not using this as a foundation.
Yes, I agree. I'm fine with this draft. I think it looks fine as is. I think, using this to discuss further, getting towards that end goal is good, but again, I agree. I don't think this is something that this is now not the vision of the Port of Centralia. This serves as hopefully, the jumping off point to get this to resolution.
Okay.
So. I'll make a motion to approve this draft vision for use in negotiations on mediation with the city of Centralia and Lewis County.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Please.
Well, the executive director report, the commissioners have in their packet a withdrawal of appeal regarding the Norwegian Woods residential subdivision. This was sent to the city on April 9th. I requested that legal counsel withdraw this appeal after notification on April 8th from the city of Centralia of their notice of withdrawal of the mitigated determination of non-significance. And I just wanted to let you guys know that that has been done.
I appreciate, go ahead.
So disappointed that we've come to this after all this time. I feel like you know, we've known for a while that this is coming. And this has been falling apart. And, you know, we've total to date, well, not to date, but, we've spent $56,000 on just this appeal. You know, we just renewed our line of credit today. We're in debt. And we don't even have the March or April legal fees for this in that $56,000. You know, we had our pre-trial meeting on the 2nd March. And I called for executive session on the 4th so that you two could be brought up to speed on what was going on. And, you know, I feel for our citizens. You know, we pay, our legal is $570 per day an hour. So she calls the city and gets a voicemail. Her smallest billing increment is 10 minutes. That's $71.30. Just for a phone call. So, Marcia, in the past, you have said that, you know, some things that we're paying for in regards to this particular project. And I don't know that you'd say that today.
Absolutely unequivocally. And when you're finished, I will explain why I feel that way.
So from here, I'm going to continue to advocate for our future of it's time to fail forward, right? Right now, this is a failure and we're going to fail forward. We're going to learn from it. We're going to grow. And I would really highly encourage both of you to consider holding off on any more litigation or legal action against the city. They have, at this point, put $31,000 towards the traffic study all along since before I was even elected. I went and met with the city and they said that this is what they wanted to do. They put their money behind it now. They want to switch to the right fee structure. And so currently their process is they're paying $31,000 for this study. The study's happening on a citywide scale. It's going to be presented to council in the fall for adoption. I assume that they will adopt it, right? And then it would go into effect in January. Regardless, I feel like it would be prudent of us to at least hold off on any more litigation and wasted money until the fall and give the city a chance to finish what they've started.
I don't know, this letter to me says we're done with this particular action.
Yeah,
So,
if I may. I think we agree on a lot of things here. I think our perspectives are a little different. I see this as a great step forward. This is an indication that the money that the port has spent on this matter is bearing very, very significant fruit now. For as long as I've been a commissioner, the port has provided comment to the city of Centralia about their traffic fee structure, and it had been ignored. We put this appeal in place, and then the city made the decision to hire a consultant and go to any fee structure. I am pretty confident that that is because of this appeal. I do not believe that that would have happened without this appeal. And if the cost to the port and the taxpayers is $50 or $60 or $70 or $100,000 to move our community forward to a fee structure that allows for all of the road infrastructure in our community to be built to a standard and to be funded in a way that benefits everybody, I think this is a monumental win. This is what we've been asking the city to consider for many, many years. And I'm glad they withdrew the determination and we were able to withdraw our appeal. I'm ecstatic they've hired a consultant, and I really look forward to the traffic mitigation plan that they put in place. I think this is, you know, nobody had to sue anybody. We didn't have to go to court. We were able to work this out. Everybody seems to be on the same sheet of music now. It costs a little bit of money to get there, but the benefit to the community in having a new fee structure for developers and to have, again, I mean, we talked about it in this draft vision of, you know, predictable regulatory outcomes. We will have a fee structure hopefully in place where developers who come to our community can go to the city and know upfront what those development costs are versus sort of this ambiguous model we've had in the past that we've been kind of screaming about. So, it's a lot of money. We've spent a lot of money on legal fees, and it's unfortunate that the city didn't heed all of the comments that we've made on previous SEPAs, because the city could have heeded our comments last year, the year before that, the year before that, the decade before that, and we could have ended up in this place long ago and had infrastructure built that we don't currently have because there wasn't a fee structure in place to build that infrastructure. So, again, it's unfortunate we had to spend that money, but it sure didn't seem like we were going to get to this place without doing it. And I'm ecstatic that that ball is now moving down the court, because I think it's going to be good for us. It's going to be good for our clients. It's going to be good for the community members that use our streets. I don't see anybody losing in this scenario.
I just want to say, like, I'm confused by you saying that this is like a win, or that the city withdrew. Norwegian Woods was the one that withdrew because we were holding them hostage. We were holding their project hostage. They didn't want to play our game.
The city
so they-
withdrew the SEPA determination.
Because Norwegian Woods applied for, I'm not using the right words. Norwegian Woods submitted for their traffic study that they did for us. Norwegian Woods changed the game, not the city.
The city was the one that chose to withdraw the SEPA determination. There's therefore nothing, what I'm saying is the city withdrew the SEPA determination. There's nothing left to appeal.
Exactly, and we knew that before the last meeting we had, when I made the motion.
I hadn't seen this letter yet. So in my mind, it wasn't withdrawn.
We knew it was pending, but it had not been, that action had not been taken yet.
Okay, but we have known for a very long time that Norwegian
Okay,
Woods didn't want.
I get the grandstanding, and you wanted to make the motion at the last meeting and get the credit for ending this. There was no additional legal expense between our last meeting and this meeting, so waiting for the city to finalize the withdrawal of the SEPA and us to withdraw our appeal, it costed us no more money. We were just following the standard cadence.
$71.30 for my lawyer to make a phone call, okay? This is not grandstanding. This is me speaking up for our citizens, okay? We do not have money for this. This was a grand waste of money. This legal action failed, and it's time to fail forward, okay? We're gonna fail forward, we're gonna move, and we're gonna grow from this, okay? We have to accept, though, that the two of you both thought that over $50,000 was worthwhile spending. Peter, can you speak? You always let Markstrom speak for you as to why we spent this money. Can you speak to why this is a good idea?
It's pretty well. I don't think this is a failure. We have moved the needle on what we're expecting for development regulations. The port has one regulation, the city has a regulation, the county has a regulation. Everybody's on a different page. This is moving it towards we're all getting on the same page.
The city has hired a consultant to switch from their failed traffic impact fee structure to a traffic mitigation fee. We've asked for that. So what's that?
Reverse.
Oh, sorry, backwards. From traffic mitigation fees to traffic impact fees. That would not have happened without this appeal. We've
Okay.
been asking for that for years. So while this appeal has been withdrawn because of the technicalities of this specific appeal, it has created a scenario where the city is now moving forward with a fee structure that we can all get behind. It would not have happened without this. I'm very confident of that, because we provided these same comments on half a dozen or more SEPAs.
I'm sorry, I have to honor and respect the word, what the city staff has said. And it was their move, which was that direct result of the traffic study that was done for the comprehensive plan and their development regs. And so, anyway, they did their comprehensive plan and development regulations, and they hired a consultant, and they came back and said, hey, this would be good doing, right? It's not, they've made it clear that it is not related to just us and this litigation. And that was presented at council, and I would highly encourage you to go back and review it, or meet with after, meet with Patty and see, this isn't a win. But we can fail forward and we can grow and we can give the city a chance.
Let's move on. Commissioner reports, please.
Oh, I have more.
Oh,
I have more.
sorry. Doggone it.
Commissioners have in their packet the budget versus actual funds spent as of March 31st, 2026. I wanted to use the same format for the originally approved budget. Overall operating expenses are 25% of the budget, and being in the first quarter, everything should be around 25%. There are some items such as non-operating revenues that the timing of cash flows is a little different. You know, tax revenues are due in April, so those come a little bit later. Non-operating revenues is at 2%. We budgeted for the sale of fixed assets. Those haven't happened yet. They're coming really soon, throughout by the end of the year. Maintenance and operations is at 18%. Salaries and benefits is at 22%. Outside services is at 23%, and general and administration expenses are at 23%. So a little bit below what we budgeted, a little bit under there. Long-term liabilities, the overall is at 3%, and that's also due to the timing of when those liabilities are due. And then capital expenditures were at 15%. You'll see an additional line item under capital expenditures called industrial properties. I put that in there because those are expenses that we have paid for that are written off against those sale of those fixed assets. So it's just kind of like my expense place where I threw that in there. So far, I think we're on track. Do you have any questions for me?
I just wanted to say thank you for providing this to the public and working on the transparency of the budget. I know that that's something that, I have been championing, and I really appreciate that you have been so willing and able to provide this sort of document and share with the public where we are. I know we have currently a deficit, but I have all faith that, you're gonna be steering us in the right direction. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for the work on this. This is nice. See where we actually are.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes, I attended city council last night. One of the items discussed was proposed annexation. I've included the updated map. There are, for court properties included is Park 2. We just have a couple of pieces. The court owns a couple more pieces still in Park 2, so that is potentially under annexation. And then also the area of Gallagher and Ives Road, there's some pieces of property in there as well. So I just wanted to put this map in here for you guys, commissioners, to review.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like, nothing has been decided at council at this point.
Yeah.
It's just like their early preliminary discussions. So.
And I'm sure we will be willing to speak to any of you if you have any questions. Yeah, the court received a ribbon cutting invite from the United Learning Center for May 14th from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. If any commissioners are interested in attending, it's nice to see that that's finally opening up, things for kids in the area. And then the chamber sent scholarship information for their Rob Fuller luncheon. This is to honor the students graduating from Centralia High School and WF West. We have sponsored tables in the past, and wondering if you guys are interested in doing that again.
I see it says 25 students, so I suppose that means 13 from Centralia, 12 from.
I think it's 25 each.
Yeah, 25 from each.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's 25 each.
darn.
So thoughts?
Is that it?
Thoughts on sponsoring a table?
Unfortunately, it's time. It's to be good stewards of money and that we are in debt. We just approved our debt line of credit for another year. We're moving in the right direction, but I don't think it would be prudent to spend money on things like this.
That's
I think we should do it. I think it's important to support our students. to support, higher education, you know, that dovetails right into the workforce that is necessary, for the jobs that we bring to this community. And, I think $350 is reasonable.
Oh, and entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve this request.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion
I
further?
think you have a member over here that'd like to.
Oh, sorry.
Chad Campbell, Operating Engineers. Is there a way for us to get some information on this scholarship? Because we would happily bring this to our board to support this.
Same.
Any further discussion?
I'm not opposed to it. I just am maybe a little bit old school. I feel like you shouldn't spend money on left when you need to, you know, when you're in debt, you don't spend it on anything that's not essential. And this will just add to the debt load.
Go ahead. Or don't go ahead.
No, that's
I'll
good.
go. I think education of our kids is essential, and I think we should appreciate and support that there's excellence in our school.
So why?
I would argue that our debt to asset ratio is probably the lowest of any public entity. We're probably in the top 1% of any public entity in the state of Washington as far as debt to assets ratio goes. I know, you know, you keep throwing out this debt thing, and we voted on a line of credit today, and I you know, it's hard to understand what your motive there is. We have debt. The city of Centralia has debt. Lewis County has debt. The Port of Chehalis has debt. Debt is a part of doing business. You'll learn that as we continue to go down the road here. You know, to acquire land, we have large pending transactions that more than wipe out this small line of credit. So you can, you know, continue speaking to the small line of credit as much as you want, but that is, we've got a very competent executive director that's going to close some very large transactions for us in the very near future. We have steady income from leaseholds and other things. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of business as usual. So, see the issue here.
To me, instead of paying $350 for the lunch, why aren't we, if our goal is job creation, if our goal is supporting these students, why aren't we donating to the scholarship? We're donating to a lunch so they can attend a lunch. This isn't.
I think this money goes for the scholarship, but I'm not positive.
It's to sponsor the table for the luncheon.
It's for the luncheon, so
Well,
let's take the $350 and put it towards the scholarship fund. Let's donate it to the scholarship.
they're not paying $40 for, you know, I mean, the money does go into the scholarship, I'm pretty sure. So they have to check that, but anyway, any further discussion?
No,
All in favor to, was this to support a table?
Yeah, the $350 request.
All in favor to support a table for $350 for the Rob Fuller Scholarship Luncheon?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Opposed?
nay.
2-1. Motion carries. Thank you. Anything else? Interim Director
No.
report.
You know, yeah, I'm gonna pull Kevin on this and say, given the amount of time that we've all spent here and the temperature in the room, no, nothing to report.
Yeah, nothing to report.
I've attended a variety of meetings and I'm not going to tell you about them all. If you're a veteran and you are interested in your benefits, right now until 6 o'clock at the Veterans in Chehalis, there's a Veterans Benefits Fair going on. If I go get done here and go in there.
Move to adjourn.
Second, go ahead.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.